Hiya then folks, welcome to Boating on a Budget with me, the tight Yorkshireman.
And me, Dawn.
What we're doing today, Dawn?
Worktops.
Yeah, we're going to get these worktops finished, sort of sanded over, hopefully get the cooker fitted, and we've got the dilemma of what to do with that sink, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you'll have seen before, the sink we bought's too big in it and we need a smaller sink, or we need to revert back to them round sinks that you're not very keen on.
I'm not, but I think that's what's going to happen.
That might be the way to go.
Yeah.
But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So first off, I'm going to deal with this, where it's just opened up a little bit. I'm going to unscrew this and re-glue it. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But you're going to be taking these outside, aren't you, the end panels? Just give them a quick sand over by hand, just ready for that finish.
Yeah.
When we're up to that stage, we can then give this top bit that final sand over by hand, can't we?
Yep, and we can then get a nice finish on it, can't we?
Yeah, we'll make them look lovely. We'll make them look better than your forehead, won't we?
I'm a little sunburned.
Yeah. We went out for a few days, didn't we, on the boat over the weekend, and it was boiling hot, weren't it?
Yeah.
Which is quite ironic because now we wanted to actually be doing that fiberglassing on the roof, didn't we? And although it's sunny at the minute, the forecast for these next few days is now rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're suffering a little bit, aren't you?
I'll leave my glasses on, because if I didn't, you'd all be laughing.
Nice sunglasses, Mark. White or nicely tanned. Right, come on then, let's crack on. If we get these out first off. As I'm sure you're aware, obviously, on the last episode, Dawn sanded these over with the electric sander. We now just want that final sand over, just by hand. What I'm going to do for this then is just unscrew the screws under that side, take this section off, clean up that joint, because obviously this is where a joint has opened up in it, and then we'll put some of the infamous tight bond glue back in there, push it all up, screw it back in place. That should be a good one. What I have noticed just taking those out is one of these screws has actually lined up exactly in the middle of that joint, which I think is perhaps sort of part of the reason why it starts to push apart, because obviously as the screw's forced up into the joint, it'll have just pushed it slightly. So we'll get it sorted, it's not a great problem. See how that's just opened up? It's kind of a nice joint that gives lots of gluing area to join these boards. So like I say, a little bit of sandpaper into them and them, cleaned up, squeeze of that, back together. What I want to do with this is just very finely take off the old glue. I don't really want to be taking any wood off because we know it was a nice tight joint and I don't want to start spoiling that, but obviously we don't want the old glue still in there. Well, if Dawn will just stop sanding for a second so that you can hear what we're saying. That's took a little bit longer than expected, just cleaning and fine tuning that. And in between times you've got them sanded up outside, haven't you?
Yeah.
Come back in. So now I've got this basically a nice tight fit again. There is just a slight opening, but we'll get that with that magic bag of sawdust that Dawn left last time. And I don't want to do too much tweaking of that joint, otherwise I might end up losing all the gluing surface altogether. So I'm going to clamp it back in place, screw it back up with the glue in it, and in between times you're doing the hand sanding on there, aren't you? And little today's top tip, we've got a bag of sawdust that we've collected over time. We're putting that on the counter so that as you put your hands on it you can rub them into it and it keeps the grease off your fingers to stop the countertop continually getting greasy.
Which is a genius idea.
Today's top tip. Let's crack on. One thing I am doing is I'm going to pilot new... Dawn! Shh! I'm going to pilot new holes and put screws in different places. Because obviously where this has pulled apart, if I put the screws back in the same holes, it's going to tend to pull the board back to where it was before, isn't it?
I'm going to say yeah.
Yeah.
Shall I get on with my
You
sanding?
carry on sanding. Today's second top tip is, I am using new screws, and even being a tight Yorkshireman you might think that's wasting money. But if you keep taking the same screw in and out, that's where you round the head off. And then at some stage in future when I need to take this countertop off, I'll have a rounded off screw and I'll never be able to get it back out. Right, so that's got that back in and it has tightened up a lot, but like I said, there is still a little bit of an opening there. As I said, I don't want to tweak about too much with this joint, otherwise where all those little grooves and tongues sit, I'm going to lose all that detail and then it's not going to sit right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of PVA glue, mix it up on there with a bit of this sawdust and run it into that joint and let that set. While that sets, I wonder what we could do.
Sanding? Come on then, you know what kettle is.
I've got this to mix up.
I'm good at it then.
We just get a squirt of PVA glue and a bit of sawdust, which obviously is the sawdust from these tops, so it's exactly the same colour. So it's not like mixing filler up where you have to get the right shade of filler. We know this is going to be the right shade. And it's obviously very fine dust because it was from the sander, which means it'll fit lovely into that gap and it'll just outmask that joint. And then we literally just squeeze that in right into the joint. So the fact we're using reclaimed timbers, you are going to pick up defects and little cracks and joints, and that's all part of using reclaimed stuff. It's just we want to make this as good as we can. And while Dawn's not here, I must just say, obviously the last episode where she sanded all these, she did all on her own, and I think she did a fantastic job. I'll not mention how many hours I had to spend editing it to make it look so good. So if I zoom in there nice and close, you can see just how that crack's been filled up with the mix of PVA and sawdust mixed together. And obviously as that dries, that's going to dry exactly the same colour as the wood that it surrounds. So as if by magic, we've now got a couple of cuppers there, and we've got this end panel, and we've got Dawn in position, ready to hold it. Which could as well be fun, because if you see any drips coming on Dawn's head, like we say, it's been raining all morning, and that's where one of the leaks is. So we've had a jug there, and now we've had to move it. So Dawn might not be very happy shortly. But what we're going to do is try and get these back into the original holes. So if you can just let it come to you a little bit, Dawn, and then I can see if just line it up. That look about lined up?
Yeah, it's not. There's a big gap here though.
Yeah. That the gap took up there.
Yep. That in.
Seems to be. That got it there.
Yeah.
So about 20 minutes, half an hour's worth of fiddling and tweaking and just getting it all right. These end panels are back in. Getting a quick sand over them. And as we can see, Dawn's just doing the final hand sand on these tops. Must be said, we're not going to actually see the very back bit because obviously the wall's going to come down to there, but obviously we want to make sure we do get far enough back. We don't want to end up finishing
Sandra
it
didn't
all.
go in there last time.
Yeah. So that's we're about there. You just got this last little bit to do, haven't you, just with the hand sander. So plenty of sawdust on there to make sure we're not getting grease or anything. It'll pick up into the varnish, but it's getting closer.
I'm happy with it.
I'm more than happy with it.
Yeah.
That's it all sanded over. Next job is to give it all a good vacuum, get up all the dust from all around here, and then we can give it a final inspection before thinking about finally putting some varnish on. I don't think everybody needs to wash us over up though for 10 minutes, do they?
No.
We're ready then for the finish. We've got a varnish, a good quality varnish, that as per the instructions for the first coat we've diluted down with white spirit about 10%. This is where we just have to go for it now, I think. Obviously, I'm guessing it's a bit like putting paint on. We'll just put it on, kind of rub it in. Obviously we're going to build this up over several coats. Talking at least 3 coats, maybe even 4 or 5. So we're wanting to work it right into the grain of the timber on this this first go. That's the idea of watering it down so that it does get in there. Like we said, this very back bit you're not actually going to see, but we might as well get the varnish right into there, get it all protected. Just like with everything on the boat, this has probably been more work than what we kind of expected into.
Yeah.
It has took a lot of sanding. But I think that's going on a treat. If you want to carry on with this, Dawn, I will grab the camera and I'll show the good people at home a nice close-up of your expert varnishing skills. That is making a massive difference. That should highlight all those lovely little features and everything. It is classed as basically a clear varnish, but it does have a little bit of an amber tint to it, which I think should beautifully pick out the details of this timber. And let's put it this way, it's probably a bit late to change his minds now. And we have pondered what finish to use on this a few times, because in some ways a nice oil would be lovely, that would bring it up nice, but being on a boat you're always getting dirt and grime and things that you've gathered off the engine bay and stuff like that, so we thought perhaps something like a varnish is more hard wearing for the longer term without having to be worrying about oily greasy fingerprints forever. I'll just stand there and let you take the glory of that last little bit on the top. Obviously what we've done is the areas where there's the little divots and things, we've been quite generous, got it right in there and then smoothed it back out again, taking the excess back off. But we think it's looking good, don't we?
I love it. Absolutely love it.
I think even just after that initial coat of varnish, I think we've kept enough character that you can see the character, that it's been highlighted, but it doesn't look a mess, does it?
No. It's better than I thought it was going to be.
Right, let's get the end panels done. Which one are you doing, which one am I doing?
I'll do this one.
I'll do this one then. Oh, you have a sit down, why don't you? Morning, Dawn.
Morning, Peter.
I'm already hard at it, love. Just giving them that quick sand over with the grain, like it says on the instructions. Ready for the next coat. That next coat will just be pure varnish though. There'll not be any white spirit in it.
Right.
Are you happy with how they're looking?
All of them.
They are looking really nice, aren't they? Yeah. I guess you're off to do your jobs though, are you?
I'm gonna have a look at washing.
Oh, you have to do washing. No worries, I'll carry on with this then. Breakfast is served.
Yep.
I think it's time for me to stop varnishing for a little while. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Enjoy your pikelets.
Or are they crumpets? That's the question.
No, they're not.
Now we jump forward to day 3 of sorting out these worktops, and you might notice Dawn's not with me today, so I'm going to fit these sinks. To be honest, as we did say, we really wanted a square sink, but we just can't find one that's the right size to fit with all the framework, so we are going to refit the round sinks, and I'm going to do it while Dawn's not here, and then she's no choice anyway. But in all honesty, she has said it's alright. Basically then what I've done is put a bit of masking tape on this worktop for where both sinks are going to sit. Now I'm going to draw around them nice and accurate with my nice small pencil. Obviously what we do need to be careful of is we don't want to cut that hole out, otherwise the sink's just going to drop straight through it. So that's now got me a mark. If I just pop that there. Now we've got that circle marked out, I've got a piece of timber that's about 1/2 inch thick, or about 12 or 13 millimetres. I'll rest that on the edge where that circle is and mark it on the inside all the way around. That then obviously means as we cut that out, the sink and the draining board will sit into it and that'll rest on the lip there. What I do need to make sure I do is do this nice and careful and accurate, because if I get this wrong, that's all this worktop and these 2 layers of varnish all ruined. The idea being, once we've cut these out, we're then going to give it a very light sand over with a fine sandpaper and then a final layer of varnish before fitting the sinks and the oven. So I'm going to stop talking because I need to concentrate and make sure I get this right. That's got that marked out. Obviously the reason I need to get it so accurate is we need enough of an overlap so that it can sit onto it nicely, but if I don't cut enough out, the sink bowl itself's not going to sit into there. Next thing to do is pilot a drill hole through there and then get the jigsaw with the nice fine cut blade, because I don't want loads of chunks being torn out of it, and just nice and steady follow that round. Nerves of steel at this point. I'll be honest, that didn't go as well as I'd hoped. The tape wasn't sticking anywhere near like I'd expected, so it was trying to move all the time. I'm pretty confident though pretty confident I've not messed it up. The only thing I'm not confident about is how that's going to sit and whether I'm going to need to take a little bit off the back there. Let's have a look. Haha, job's a good one. Obviously, as we come to line it all up, when we come to stick it down, I can just adjust that ever so slightly, one way or the other, just to get it sat exactly where we want it. But I'm reckoning that's come out alright. Before I cut this one out though, I'm going to try and go over this tape and see if I can get it to stick a bit better, because as I said, that tape we're moving around on there. Then once I've got that one cut, like I said, I'm going to give it another fine sand over and then another layer of varnish, and we'll come back to you tomorrow. We've now jumped forward about 48 hours because we wanted to leave this varnish to properly set up before we started dropping things into it, just to make sure it doesn't sort of scratch and scuff them as you're moving things about and getting them into place. But how do you think it's looking?
Marvellous. I absolutely love it.
It is looking brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe them scraggy old school desks we started with that were covered in chewing gum and things like Lucy Loves Paul in marker pen and what have you, could clean up to look like this, would you?
Exceeded my expectations, totally.
Yeah. It has took a lot of work though, hasn't it? I mean, there's literally hours and hours and hours of work gone into that, but I think the results are more than perfect.
They speak for themselves, don't
they? They do indeed.
Yeah.
What about these though? The round sinks.
I'm liking them.
Yeah, I think they look alright now they're in, don't they? I think you've just got in your head it's a square boxy bout and what have you, and you wanted a square sink to go with it. But they are in front of the round porthole, and I think they look good.
I do.
And especially once you've given them a good scrub and a polish up, they'll look lovely. Once I've given them a good scrub and polish up, they'll look lovely. While we were doing these, we also did the toilet and shower tray, didn't we?
Yeah.
That I built a few weeks ago out of the same sort of timber. So now we are kind of geared up, ready to get the bathroom and the kitchen all plumbed and gas fitted and what have you, and running water on board. But we're cheating a little bit with that, aren't we?
We certainly are.
We're not actually going to plumb this lot up or do the gas, which we can technically through the regulations do the gas ourselves, because all the regulations state is you need to be a competent person. And I think we're kind of coming across as being competent. Well, maybe we're competent. But no, we've got a little trick up our sleeve for that, haven't we?
Yeah.
In the fact that Ben, the son-in-law, is a gas-safe plumber.
Yeah.
So we might as well palm that one off on somebody else.
Absolutely.
We've got quite enough to do with everything else. So, but no, partly for peace of mind as well. Obviously, getting somebody in who knows exactly what they're doing with the gas and the water. I mean, the water's not so dangerous. It's just obviously if we suddenly start springing a leak here and there because we've not done it right, that's when you then start having.
He'll make sure he's spot on first time.
Yeah, I mean, Ben is brilliant at what he does. He is a top plumber, so
yeah, of course he is.
So we'll get him in. He'll do that. And obviously, coming up over the coming weeks, we've got things like we're going to start facing these up as well, aren't we? Things like that, and getting the bathroom done.
Yeah.
Not to mention this roof. We're part way through preparing it for the fiberglass on the outside, aren't we? So that's going to be coming up in the next week or two as well. I think we really are now at a stage where everything is kind of coming together.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we've still got loads of work to do, haven't we? I mean, serious, I would say we're probably not even halfway through the project yet.
No.
But it's kind of feeling a bit like we got a boat back, doesn't it? Yeah. I think though, hopefully, everyone's liked the vlog. I'm sure they're already subscribed, and when they're subscribed, what do they have to do?
Ding the bell.
Ding the little bell. It means you get notifications each time we put a video on. Other than that, I think I'll go and make a brew because I don't seem to have one. And we'll see everyone later.
Bye bye.